Good evening, Monday morning quarterback, episode 24. Monday evening here, 9 o'clock in Brownsburg, Indiana. Rolled in from Knoxville about 6:30 this morning. Trevor and I got back to work, trying to get some stuff done for customers, and then I'm heading to Texas Friday for the Now 600 races Friday and Saturday. Jake is in Knoxville for us. He's at the lovely Red Carpet Motel helping on Hunter Schoenberg's car. So if you need anything from us, he's got a little care package of stuff. He can help get you fixed up or get you what you need. We could ship in what you need, any of our customers that are still in Knoxville. So had a great time in Knoxville. Good week for us out there with Thomas Kennedy. Winning the prelim night with our latest shocks for the wing program that we've been working really hard on, and the progressive bump kit, and then he ran fifth on the final night. And we had five or six customers running last night at the Capitani. I think 4 of them made the A main, so looking forward to the Knoxville Nationals this weekend. In other racing, good weekend for CSI. Zeb Wise picking up his first USAC national win, which is especially cool for us. Zeb used to, we've seen him race since he's a little bitty guy. He ran our house car quarter midget on occasion, and super cool to see him progressing through the ranks. Another midget win was Jerry Coons won the opener of the Ironman 55 with Power Eye. So good weekend for Team CSI. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up before we got into bump rubber talk is the shock seminars that we are going to be hosting during PRI week. So we got one Friday night at 6 p.m. and then one Sunday morning. The Friday night one's about 3/4 sold out, and the Sunday one's about half sold out. So if you're interested in going to that, I strongly encourage you to sign up, because they will sell out, and once it's gone, it's gone. We're doing them here at our shop. We've only got so much room, and we certainly want to keep it small where we can add a lot of value to the people that signed up for it. So it's only 20 spots per shock seminar, so definitely sign up for that. Okay, bump rubbers. They come in all shapes and sizes, different materials. We've tested with everything from your traditional foam bump rubbers to all types of different poly bump rubbers, even hydraulic bump rubbers. And so we'll talk a little bit about that today, what we've learned with bump rubbers, and how we like to utilize them. As I was thinking about what I was going to discuss tonight and how I was going to try to bring some knowledge to you guys, it reminded me of a story when I first started in IndyCar racing as a shock guy. The race engineer was really intrigued by my background and where I came from and the type of racing I was involved in, and he was from Europe, had spent time in Formula One. Really bright guy, and so I took him to Terre Haute one night for a USAC national sprint car race, and we got there early, and as we're walking through the pits, he's asking me all sorts of questions about the car, wheelbase and roll centers, and how much does the thing weigh, and motor setback, horsepower, etc. And as he's pondering the car and walking around and taking a look at it, after a minute or two, he looks at me and he says, Garrett, there's no way this thing's going to go around the racetrack. And I said, what do you mean? He said, there's no way this thing's going to go around the racetrack with everything you just told me about this car. And so I say that because a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about tonight is my personal knowledge, things I learned in school or at the racetrack. Most of what I learned at the racetrack, because a lot of what we do in our core markets, micros, midgets, sprint cars, Silver Crown, kind of defies engineering logic. That's really cool that it's kind of an untapped don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's really what we're doing is so different than what they do at the higher levels of motorsports, and that's what's really cool. Is it's trial and error, it's thinking, and I think that I got an idea that'll work, and putting it on the race car and trying it and seeing if you were correct or not. There's no simulation software where you can put in all the coordinates and all the data regarding like Knoxville Raceway, and it's going to spit out the ideal setup, you know, wing angle and torsion bar rates and you know, shock valvings, etc. That doesn't happen in sprint car racing. So it's really cool that the guys that are successful are the guys that put in the work, think outside the box, and work really hard at it. Because like anything, you get out of it what you put into it. So I hope today, and if we don't get to everything, we'll continue again next week, that I can give you a good foundation of why we use bump rubbers, why we don't use bump rubbers in certain instances, and why we've went about it the way we have here at CSI. So everything I'm telling you, you should be able to apply no matter what shock package you use. Of course, we would prefer you choose CSI, but if you're on another shock package, all of this same information should apply. Okay, we'll jump right in. So bump rubbers, as I showed earlier, you got a foam, a poly, a pyramid shape, kind of the most common. You'll see pucks of different shapes and sizes. Sometimes you would run it in a cup or not. So a lot of different things you can do about, Brad, I will talk about bump springs and why I'm not a fan in just a moment. So a lot of different options. Okay, when we start to look at bump rubbers and what we want to run or don't run, we dyno them. So what we'll do is we'll build a dummy shock, basically with nothing in it, and we will dyno the shock with the bump rubber on it, so we're just getting the rate of the bump rubber. I printed a graph. I'll get really close, okay? So you can see that graph, okay? So that's basically plotting the rate of the bump rubber and the curve of the bump rubber. So that was just a single one of our mediums in a cup. And here's a couple of different graphs that you can see. And that's kind of the difference of a soft in a cup, a medium in a cup, and then our more progressive kit with three 40 durometer pucks. So I guess one of the big questions is, why do we run a bump rubber? Or other people call it a bump stop. Really, it's the same thing. But with the bump rubber, you can try to achieve two things. One, you're trying to limit travel. That's where the term bump stop comes from. Very popular in stock car racing, where they're trying to get the car to travel so much in the front, seal that front valence off, get max downforce, and get the car to turn. Or we could be using the bump rubber, and maybe and/or, so we could be doing it to limit travel, and/or we could be doing it to try to increase the load on that particular corner, load the tire harder, get more grip. We use it in both instances in midget and sprint car racing. So imagine a wing sprint car and solid axle. All of our core markets, whether it's quarter midgets to silver crown, solid axle. So imagine if you didn't have a bump rubber on the left rear of a wing sprint car, say at a place like Knoxville where you just come from, a half mile, and here's your solid axle, and as you go into the corner, your left rear goes down, 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 down. There's nothing to stop the travel, probably until the frame drags the track, which doesn't feel real good to the driver. But what else is it doing over here? As the left rear is going down, it's pulling the right rear out of the track too. So it's extending that right rear shock, and at some point could top the right rear shock out, but it's definitely unloading the right rear corner of the car. So we're losing side bite, we're losing right rear grip. That's often referred to by drivers and crew chiefs in wing racing as kind of down and out. So things down so far, the right rear is out of the track. So with the bump rubber, we can control this by down, 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 hit this bump rubber, and if we do it right, load the left rear corner, the right rear is not out of the track, and now we have more drive off the corner and the tires are loaded more evenly. If we do it wrong, it's going to go down, 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 hit the bump rubber, bounce off. Then we'll get what the wing guys will refer to as rolled up, because it bumped off the left rear and now it's on the right front and it's not rolling the corner the way you want. In order for a wing car to go fast, and you non-wing guys hang in there, we're going to get to some of our reasons why we're running bump rubbers on the non-wing cars and having a lot of success with it. So we're talking about the wing stuff now, but if you get to, say my knuckles the bump rubber, travel, hit the bump rubber, we don't have it timed right, the bump rubber's got too much rate, the car doesn't have enough mechanical leverage, hits the bump rubber, bounces off. Now we're transferring weight to the right front, and if a wing car is not down on the left side, it will not roll the corner properly. If that left rear is up, it gets on the right front, shoves across the track, driver can't get back to the gas, and we can't carry corner speed. Wing races are won by corner speed. So that's one of the reasons to run a bump rubber on the left rear of a wing car. Now you're starting to see more guys run them across the rear, left rear and right rear, and the reason is as you're trying to time this bump rubber and you're getting down into it and you're squishing it, oftentimes the right rear is kind of doing a different thing over here. Well, if we can put a bump rubber over there too, now we can help control the attitude of the car and try to get more even drive across the rear tires. It's all a timing thing though. When it gets into that bump rubber, how much rate it has, and does the car have enough mechanical leverage or downforce to keep it on the bump rubber? Because if it hits the bump rubber and jumps off, we're almost worse than even not having one on altogether. The race car is always going to travel to the path of least resistance, and when we're trying to manipulate it by running bump rubbers and telling it to stop, load the tire, we have to do it in a fashion that it can stay on there how we need. So one of the reasons why I am such a big fan of our new bump kit, and it's something we worked really hard on. Our friends at RE Suspension, who are super hip and all the bump rubber stuff in the stock car world, we worked with them because they have just way more knowledge than we do as far as good materials, what's going to last, etc. And then we worked with some of their different products, we refined some of it, and we came up with a really cool bump kit that I felt worked the best for our markets, and then we just co-branded it together because we were using some of their stuff and some of our ideas. The main reason why I'm such a big fan of it is it's so soft and progressive. So we're shooting at a much bigger target and there's much more room for error. The reason that I don't like the springs are they build rate so quick, if you don't have it timed just perfect, the car's going to bounce off like we talked about. So the car will travel down and hit that spring and it builds the rate so quick it just jumps off of it. The benefit of a spring is it's not temperature sensitive at all. So in a stock car application where the bump rubbers get really hot, they're mounted up on the front shocks right by the brake rotors, you can have issues with your polyurethane pucks or certainly your foam rubbers, but we don't have that issue in our markets. The springs, in my opinion, they build rate too quick, and the only way to get them kind of calmed down enough is to stack them in series. That makes them a little more progressive and gets them softer. However, you're shooting at a really small target, and if you get it right, it works, but there's not much margin for error. Where with the progressive kit, we're shooting at a really big target, and we can hit it and get the car to do what we want more times than not. Why are we running bump rubbers on the right rear of non-wing cars? Well, it's basically the same principle as the wing cars. We're just, a non-wing car is driving off the right rear, a wing car is driving off the left rear. So again, you got your solid rear axle, a non-wing car goes into the corner, lays over on the right rear, and what's it do? Extends that left rear shock. We lose left rear drive. If it travels really far, it pulls the left rear tire off the ground, which is not a comfortable feeling for anybody. But in addition, as that left rear corner is that right rear corner is getting so low, our corner height's getting so low, we're losing all of our side bite. So what we've done is get into the corner, travel, hit that bump rubber, load the tire. Now the car has a more level platform across the back. that right rear corner height's higher now, so we got more side bite, and we're loading that corner harder, and we're just getting a lot more drive in the slick. The other thing that's helped on a midget is you tend to get a lot of porpoise on a midget. The sidewall of the tire, which the tire is a spring as well, the sidewall of a midget tire is so flexy and has so much play and spring rate. On a rough track, you tend to get a lot of hopping on a midget. So that bump rubber has helped kind of calm that down. Ronnie, I would say I would start with about 1 inch to 1.25 inch gap at Calistoga, and I think it'll work really, really well for you on the big track. It's been super good at Terre Haute for us this year with the sprint cars on the big flat tracks, which Calistoga is that way too. So I'll kind of pause there as I've been rambling for a bit and ask any of you that are tuned in, do you have questions as far as your specific application and how bump rubbers can or can't help you? So everything I've said is perfect case scenario. Jason Myers. So we offer a half kit and a full kit. The half kit is enough to do one corner, and the full kit's enough to do both. So if you're running a wing and you want to run it left rear and right rear, a full kit will do both. Half kit is $125, I believe, and the full kit's $225. Yes, it does work on a micro. I've had several guys running them with a lot of success. Jake Hagopian out in California ran them during micro week. Obviously, he had a fantastic week. Frank Galusha has been running it. The Randalls in Texas have been running it off and on. So yes, it does work well on a micro. So we've been talking all this stuff, perfect case scenario. If we time everything right, it loads the corner, keeps a more level platform. Why don't we run it all the time? The reason we don't run it all the time is there's a margin of error there. If you don't time it right, like I say, it could be worse than if you ever ran it at all, because if you don't time it right, it's going to bounce off of it. So in a perfect world, a lot more drive, works great, and that's one of the reasons we have been such a proponent of the progressive kit, because you're shooting at a bigger target, it's easier to hit that gap and less likely for the car to bump off of it. I'm going to scroll up and answer a couple of these questions. Cole, so we do have the kit for a micro. Same kit, and it's working really well on a micro. So yes, they are currently available for the micro. So Kevin has mentioned that he likes the bump rubber kit, but always can't run the 3 pucks. So when we run 3 pucks with our particular kit, it makes it really progressive, and that's what we like. When we drop down to 2, it's still progressive, but it gets a little more linear. We're working on a couple things there, micro specific, to try and get a little more room. So I know Hagopian at D1, they're working on changing their shock tower a little bit. Going to do a special length bodied shock so they can run it on the left rear all the time. But that's been one of the challenges on the micro, is getting it to where you can run 3 pucks all the time and not run out of room. Trent Mitchell. Okay, so we run the same progressive kit on a quarter midget, and Trent's question is, if you feel like you're into it too hard, should you open up the gap or increase the spring rate on the right? The car's going to travel, if it's traveling hard to the right side, I don't know that opening up the gap 1/4 inch or so is going to do as much as either going stiffer on bumps, so putting a stiffer durometer bump rubber in there, or just going up on spring rate. I know at Brickyard, when the track got really rubbered up, I just went up on spring rate a little bit, went to a slightly stiffer coil spring, and that seemed to help more than opening the gap up. Mark, Wing 360, always running the bump or only in certain conditions? Well, you're going to see the largest advantage when the track is slicked off. So if you're running a track that's real heavy and rough, I don't know that I would run it. But when the track gets slick and you're looking for grip, that's when I would put it Mike, advice for guys using them on a super stock car. So we've got a couple guys using them on dirt mods and super stocks where the rules allow, and I certainly think there's an advantage on the right rear. Another thing that I think could come into play and work really well is on the right front, but I haven't done enough testing on that yet. But we would run the same kit, we just run the heavier durometer pucks, and the gap would be a little bit different for modifieds or super stocks. Tyler, congrats on your win last week. How do you know whether to increase the rate or decrease the gap? Decreasing the gap is going to be less of an adjustment as increasing the bump rubber durometer or rate. So if you feel like you need a little bit, decrease the gap. If you feel like you need a lot, then I would go up on bump rubber durometer, putting a stiffer bump rubber in there, and go that way. Brad, I would definitely run a bump rubber on the right rear if I were you, Brad. We've got a lot of our USAC sprint car guys running the bump rubber, and it works really, really well. I would highly recommend giving it a shot on the right rear. I think with your standard setup, you're going to see an improvement, and if the tracks are smooth and slick, you might even be able to go softer on right rear bar and run that in conjunction with the bump rubber. Rick, the new style kits are progressive. Our old foam kits, they had a little progression to them because we were stacking them, but they are more linear. Certainly wouldn't consider that a progressive kit. But the new kits that we released at PRI in December and we've been running most of the year, those are progressive. Neil, I would definitely try a bump rubber. I'm not a huge reverse split guy, but I definitely would try the bump rubber. I think you will see increased grip for sure. Sorry, I'm trying to get caught up on the... Ryan, the RS17 is a 1/2 inch shaft. So the only shocks that we have are 9/16 is the 15 LT. The 18s we went to a 1/2 inch shaft as well. So when you buy the bump rubber kit, we ask you what size shaft you have because it comes with packers so you can adjust your gap. So again, the only shock that we produce that's a 9/16 is the 15 LT, the 18 LT, and every other shock that we have is 1/2 inch. Thomas, it would be effective on a restrictor if you're to the point where you're spinning the tires and looking for grip. I'm always cautious on a restrictor car because oftentimes you're underpowered and you can pull that motor down. So if you feel like you're at a spot where you're spinning the tires and not getting the drive you need, then that is a point where I would put the bump rubbers on. So I'm sure as we sign off here, I will think of some other bump rubber stuff that I wanted to discuss. So we might do a part 2 like we did on the torsion bars. If I didn't get your question answered in the fashion that you are wanting, don't hesitate to shoot me an email or a message on Facebook, and I will certainly answer that. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and hope everybody has a fantastic week. And one more question. Alex Decamp, I apologize. I don't know who you spoke with, but we try our very best to reply to everybody. And so if you want to shoot me a message, I give you my word that I will get back to you and get you whatever information you need. Your name has never come across my desk, so I'm not sure who you talked to, but shoot me a message and I will certainly get you taken care of. Joel, what's the gap I'm talking about? Good question. So the gap is measured from the bottom of the shock body to the top of the bump rubber. So essentially, how much can the shock travel before you get into the bump rubber? That is your bump rubber gap, and that is what we tune. Tyler, absolutely. You can run a softer compression in the bump rubber to get the attitude. In addition, you can also run a softer torsion bar. Any other questions? No. Well, we hope everybody has a fantastic week. And like I say, if you didn't get your question answered, shoot me a message and we will get you taken care of. Thanks for tuning in, guys.